Hey everyone, I'm Monoscaling. I'm here to guide you today. If you use this video to drift off to sleep, please tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now get comfortable and relax. Story 1. My name is Sarah Miller. This happened in the summer of 2012, when my brother went missing in the forest for a week. When he came back, he wouldn't stop smiling. I need to write this down because I don't know what else to do. The police closed the case. My parents won't talk about it, and I can't keep pretending everything is normal when I know it isn't. We were camping at Fish Lake National Forest in Utah. It was supposed to be a family trip. Me, my younger brother Danny, and our parents. Dad had just bought a used RV, a 1998 Winnebago, that smelled like cigarettes and pine air freshener no matter how much Mom cleaned it. He was proud of it, said it would save us money on hotels. Danny was 15. I was 22, home for the summer after finishing my junior year at college. I hadn't wanted to go on the trip. I had a boyfriend back in Ohio and a summer job lined up at a coffee shop. But Mom had guilt-tripped me about family time, and Dad had looked so excited about the RV, so I went. Danny was going through that phase teenage boys go through where they're too cool for everything. He wore the same black hoodie every day even though it was summer. He listened to metal bands I'd never heard of. He barely talked at dinner, but he wasn't a bad kid, just quiet, awkward, normal 15-year-old stuff. The campground was nice. We got there on a Wednesday afternoon in late July. The site had full hookups for the RV, a picnic table, and a fire ring. There were maybe 20 other sites, about half of them occupied. Mostly families, an older couple in a massive fifth wheel. Some guys in their 30s with a pop-up tent trailer who drank beer and played cornhole. The trees were thick, aspens and pines. The elevation made the air thin and cool even in summer. At night you could see more stars than I'd ever seen in my life. Nothing felt wrong at first. We spent Thursday hiking. Dad wanted to do this trail that looped around a small lake. It was supposed to be 3 miles, easy terrain. Danny complained the whole time, but he came. He took photos with his phone, trees, rocks, the lake, normal stuff. Friday morning, Danny asked if he could explore the area around the campground. There were trails everywhere, little dirt paths that branched off into the woods. Mom said yes as long as he stayed within shouting distance and took his phone. He left after breakfast, around 9. By noon, Mom was worried. Danny wasn't answering his phone. Dad walked the nearby trails calling his name. Nothing. At 2, Dad drove to the ranger station. They sent someone out. A woman ranger, maybe 30, with a walkie-talkie and a professional calm that was supposed to be reassuring but just made my stomach hurt. She asked the basic questions. What was he wearing? Did he have water? Did he know the area? Dad said black hoodie, jeans, and no. This was our first time here. The ranger organized a search. Other campers volunteered. By evening, there were maybe 15 people walking the trails with flashlights calling Danny's name. I went with them. My voice got hoarse. We didn't find him. That night, Mom didn't sleep. I heard her crying in the RV. Dad sat outside by the fire, not saying anything. I kept checking my phone, hoping Danny would text, even though his phone was going straight to voicemail. Saturday, they brought in search and rescue, dogs, a helicopter. The whole thing felt surreal. Like we were on one of those true crime shows Mom watched. I gave interviews to a local news crew. Please, if anyone has seen him. That kind of thing. The ranger said most lost hikers are found within 48 hours. She said it like a fact, like we should find that comforting. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, nothing. Mom and Dad talked about going home, but how could we leave? The rangers said we should, that there was nothing we could do, that professional teams were handling it. Dad refused, said he wasn't leaving without his son. Wednesday, a week after Danny disappeared, I woke up to voices outside the RV. It was early, maybe 6. The sun was just coming up. I looked out the window and saw Danny standing by the picnic table talking to Dad. I don't remember getting outside. One second I was at the window, the next I was on the ground in my pajamas hugging him. He was real, solid, wearing the same black hoodie, not hurt. Where were you? I was crying. Where the hell were you? Danny smiled. I got lost. That was it. That was all he said. Mom came out. She was crying too, harder than I'd ever seen. She grabbed Danny and wouldn't let go. Dad was on the phone with the ranger station telling them Danny was back. He was fine. Everything was fine. But I was looking at Danny's face. He was smiling. Not a big smile, just a small one. The corners of his mouth turned up, and he wasn't stopping. Are you okay? I asked. Are you hurt? I'm fine, Danny said, still smiling. What happened? Where did you go? I got lost, he said again. Same words, same tone, same smile. Mom pulled back to look at him. Baby, we were so worried. Did you find shelter? Did you have water? I'm fine, Danny said. The ranger came, same woman from before. She asked Danny questions. Where had he been? Had he fallen? Had he seen anyone? Danny answered every question the same way. I got lost. I'm fine. The smile never changed. The ranger looked concerned but not alarmed. She said sometimes people go into shock after trauma, that Danny should see a doctor. Mom and Dad agreed immediately. We packed up the RV in less than an hour and drove to the nearest hospital, a small place about 40 minutes away. Danny sat in the back with me. He looked out the window, smiled. Danny, I said quietly, you can tell me, what really happened? He turned to me. The smile was still there. I got lost. For a week? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe? You don't know how long you were gone? It didn't feel like a week. How long did it feel like? He thought about it. A few hours. My skin prickled. That doesn't make sense. I know, he said, and smiled. At the hospital, they did a full workup, blood tests, CT scan. The doctor said Danny was in perfect health, no dehydration, no malnutrition, no injuries. His vitals were normal. Better than normal, actually. The doctor seemed confused by that. He should be dehydrated at least, the doctor said to Dad. Are you sure he didn't have water? He didn't take any with him, Dad said. The doctor didn't have an explanation. He recommended we follow up with our family doctor at home and maybe a therapist. For the shock, he said. We drove home to Ohio that night, 12 hours. Danny slept most of the way, or pretended to. When he was awake, he smiled. The first few days home, everyone was just relieved. Neighbors came by with casseroles. Mom's friends called. Everyone wanted to hear the story. Danny told them he got lost. That was it. No details, just the smile. I went back to my coffee shop job, tried to forget about it, but I couldn't stop thinking about the way Danny looked at me in the RV, like he was seeing me for the first time, like he was figuring out what I was. The smile was always there, at dinner, watching TV. In the morning when I passed him in the hall, "Is your face tired?" I asked him once. I was trying to be funny, trying to act normal. "No," he said. "Why? You're always smiling." He touched his mouth, like he'd forgotten. "Am I?" "Yeah." "Oh." He dropped his hand, kept smiling. I didn't notice. After 2 weeks, Mom took him to a therapist, Dr. Patricia Chen, a woman who specialized in adolescent trauma. Danny went twice a week. Mom asked him how it went. He said it was fine. He said Dr. Chen was nice. He smiled. I asked Mom what the therapist said. Mom looked tired. She thinks he's repressing something, that he'll talk about it when he's ready. Does she think something bad happened to him out there? Mom's eyes got wet. I don't know. Maybe. But nothing seemed wrong with Danny except the smile. He went back to school in September. He did his homework. He ate dinner with us. He played video games in his room. Everything was normal. Except it wasn't. Little things started adding up. Danny stopped listening to music. The metal bands he'd been obsessed with just stopped. I asked him about it once and he looked confused. I don't really like that stuff anymore, he said. He didn't go on his phone as much. Before, he'd been on it constantly. Now he'd leave it sitting on the counter for hours. He started eating different foods. Danny had always hated vegetables, refused to eat anything green. Now he ate salads without complaint. Mom was thrilled at first, thought maybe he was finally maturing, but it was weird how he'd just pick up a piece of broccoli and eat it with no expression except the smile. His handwriting changed. I noticed because we had a family calendar on the fridge. Danny's writing used to be messy, typical teenage scrawl. Now it was neat, precise, like he was concentrating on each letter, and he started knowing things he shouldn't know. The first time I thought it was a coincidence. I was on the phone with my boyfriend, Jake, arguing about something stupid. I hung up upset. Danny was in the kitchen making a sandwich. "You should break up with him," Danny said. I stared. "What?" "Jake. You should break up with him. He's going to cheat on you." "That's not— How do you even know his name?" Danny looked at me, smiled. "You say it all the time. I don't talk about him around you." "You must. I know his name." "Danny, why would you say that? That's mean. I'm just telling you what's going to happen." 2 weeks later, I found out Jake had hooked up with a girl from his summer class. We broke up. I didn't tell Danny he'd been right. The second time was worse. Dad was worried about layoffs at his job. He hadn't told any of us, but I'd overheard him on the phone with Mom, late at night when they thought I was asleep. At dinner one night, Danny looked at Dad and said, "You're not going to get laid off." Dad dropped his fork. "What?" "Your job. You're worried about it. But you're not going to get laid off. Mike is." Mike was Dad's co-worker. Dad went pale. "How do you know about Mike?" Danny shrugged, smiled. "I don't know. I just do." Dad got up from the table, went to his room. Mom followed him. I sat there with Danny. "That was messed up," I said. "Why?" "You scared him." "I was just telling the truth." "How do you know it's the truth?" "I don't know. I just know." Mike got laid off 3 days later. Dad didn't. Dad stopped talking to Danny much after that. In October, I went back to college. I was relieved to get away. But I called home every week, and every time I talked to Mom, she sounded more stressed. "Is Danny okay?" I'd ask. "He's fine," she'd say. "Just quiet. You know how he is." But I didn't know how he was. Not anymore. Thanksgiving, I came home. Danny was there when I arrived, standing in the doorway, smiling. "Hi, Sarah," he said. "Hey, Danny." He looked taller, or maybe just different. His posture was straighter. His eyes were clear. He looked healthy, too healthy, like he'd been photoshopped. At dinner, Danny didn't eat much. He pushed food around his plate. The smile stayed. "Everything okay?" Dad asked. He sounded tense. "Yes," Danny said. "You're not eating." "I'm not very hungry." "You need to eat." "Okay." Danny took a bite of turkey, chewed, swallowed, smiled. Later that night, I went to Danny's room. The door was half open. He was sitting on his bed, staring at the wall, not on his phone, not listening to music, just sitting. "Danny?" He turned, smiled. "Hi. Can I come in?" "Okay." I sat in his desk chair. His room looked the same but emptier somehow. The posters were still on the walls, bands, movies, but they looked wrong, like decorations in a staged house. "How's school?" I asked. "Fine." "Are you happy?" He tilted his head. "Yes." "Really?" "Yes, why?" "I don't know, you seem different." "Different how?" "I don't know how to explain it." He watched me. The smile didn't move. "I'm the same, Sarah." "You're not, though. You smile all the time." "Is that bad?" "It's not bad. It's just weird." "Why is it weird to smile?" "Because you're smiling even when nothing's funny. Even when nothing's happy, you're just always smiling." "Maybe I'm just happy." "Are you?" "Yes." "What are you happy about?" He thought about it. "Everything." "That's not normal." "Why not?" "Because no one is happy all the time." Maybe I am. I left his room feeling worse than when I went in. At some point that weekend, I found Mom crying in the kitchen. It was late. I'd come down for water. She was sitting at the table in the dark. Mom? She wiped her eyes quickly. I'm fine. Just tired. What's wrong? She shook her head. Nothing. Is it Danny? She looked at me. Do you think he's okay? I didn't know how to answer. I don't know. Dr. Chen says he's fine. She says he's adjusted well, but I don't. He doesn't seem like Danny. I know. He doesn't talk to me, not really. He answers questions, but he doesn't talk. He used to tell me about his day, about his friends. Now he just says fine and good and goes to his room. Has he mentioned what happened in the forest? No. And Dr. Chen says I shouldn't push him, that he'll talk when he's ready. But it's been months, Sarah, and he just smiles. I didn't know what to say. I hugged her. She held on tight. I went back to school after Thanksgiving and tried to focus on finals. But I couldn't stop thinking about Danny. I called home more often. Mom always said the same thing. He's fine. He's doing well in school. He's the same. But she didn't sound convinced. Christmas break, I came home again. Danny had changed more. He was taller, definitely. His face looked older, sharper. He still wore the black hoodie sometimes, but it didn't fit the same way. It looked like a costume. He'd made friends. That was the thing that got me. Danny had never been social. Before the trip, he'd had maybe 2 friends he talked to online. Now he had a group. They came over, hung out in the basement, normal teenager stuff. Except when I went down to say hi, they all turned to look at me at the exact same time. 5 kids, all smiling. Hi, Sarah, Danny said. Hey, just wanted to see if you guys wanted snacks or something. No, thank you, Danny said. The other kids didn't say anything, just smiled. I backed up the stairs. My heart was pounding. I told myself I was being paranoid. They were just kids. Teenagers being weird. But something was wrong. I started paying more attention. The little things that didn't add up. Danny didn't blink as much as he used to. I timed it once. He went almost 2 minutes without blinking, just staring at the TV, smiling. He didn't sleep right. I woke up at 3 in the morning once to get water. His bedroom light was on. I peeked in. He was sitting on his bed staring at the wall, not on his phone, not reading, just sitting, smiling. Danny, I whispered. He turned slowly. Hi, Sarah. What are you doing? Nothing. Why are you awake? I don't need much sleep anymore. What do you mean? I sleep 2 or 3 hours. That's enough. That's not healthy. He shrugged, smiled. I feel fine. I closed his door, went back to my room, didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day I cornered Mom. Something's wrong with Danny. She looked exhausted. What do you mean? He doesn't sleep. He doesn't blink right. He's not Danny. Sarah, he's fine. The doctor said. I don't care what the doctor said. Look at him, Mom. Really look at him. She bit her lip. I know he's different. But people change. Maybe what happened in the forest changed him. Maybe that's not a bad thing. He's doing well in school. He has friends. He's not getting in trouble. Don't you think it's weird that he's too perfect? That he's happy all the time? That he never gets angry or sad or anything? Some people are just positive. Not like this. This isn't positive. This is wrong. She looked at me for a long time. What do you want me to do? I don't know. Take him to a different doctor. Someone who can actually help. You think I haven't tried? I've taken him to 3 different therapists. They all say the same thing. He's fine. He's adjusted. There's nothing wrong with him. Then they're not looking hard enough. She didn't answer, just turned away. I went to Danny's room. He was doing homework. Looked up when I came in. Smiled. What happened in the forest? I asked. I got lost. Don't give me that. Tell me the truth. What really happened? He put down his pencil. I got lost. For a week. Yes? And you don't remember it? I remember some of it. Tell me. He looked at me. The smile didn't change. I walked into the trees. I kept walking. It got dark. I kept walking. Then I was back. That's it? That's it. You didn't eat? You didn't drink? I don't remember. You don't remember a week? It didn't feel like a week. What did it feel like? A few hours. You said that before, but that doesn't make sense. I know. So what happened? Did you hit your head? Did you lose time? Maybe. Danny, you have to give me more than that. He looked back at his homework. I don't have more, Sarah, I'm sorry. Did someone take you? Did someone hurt you? No. Then what? He sighed. It was the first time I'd heard him sigh in months. I don't know how to explain it. Something happened. I don't understand it, but I'm fine now, I promise. You're not fine. You're different. Different isn't bad. It is when you stop being you. He looked at me again. For a second, just a second, the smile faltered, like he was going to say something real, but then it came back. I'm still me. Prove it. How? Tell me something only Danny would know, a memory, something from before. He thought. We used to watch that show, the one with the dragons. You made me watch it with you even though I thought it was boring. You'd make popcorn and we'd stay up late on school nights and Mom would get mad. I felt something crack in my chest. Yeah, we did. I'm still me, Sarah, I promise. I wanted to believe him, but I didn't. I went back to school in January. Couldn't focus. Failed 2 midterms. My roommate asked if I was okay. I said yes. I wasn't. I called home every few days. Mom stopped answering as much. When she did, she sounded distant, said everything was fine, said Danny was fine. In February, I got a call from Dad. You need to come home, he said. What's wrong? It's your mother. My stomach dropped. What happened? She's in the hospital. She tried to. He stopped. Just come home. I drove through the night, got to the hospital by morning. Dad was in the waiting room. He looked 20 years older. What happened? I asked. She took pills. A lot of pills. I found her in time, but... He rubbed his face. They pumped her stomach. She's going to be okay, physically. Why would she do that? He didn't answer for a long time. She's been having nightmares about Danny, about the forest. She kept saying he wasn't Danny, that something else came back. My blood went cold. She told you that? She's been saying it for weeks. I thought she was just stressed. But last night she told me she couldn't live with it anymore, that she couldn't look at him. Where's Danny? At home. I didn't tell him yet. Does he know? I don't know. I left before he woke up. I went to see Mom. She was awake, hooked up to IVs. Her eyes were hollow. Sarah, she whispered. I took her hand. Mom, what happened? She started crying. I can't do it anymore. I can't pretend. Pretend what? That he's Danny. That everything's okay. Sarah, he's not my son. Mom, I know how it sounds. I know I sound crazy. But I've been watching him. Really watching. And he's not right. He doesn't move right. He doesn't talk right. He's pretending to be Danny, but he's not. What do you think he is? I don't know. But something took my son in those woods and something else came back. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell her she was wrong, that Danny was just traumatized, that he'd changed, but he was still Danny. But I couldn't, because I'd been thinking the same thing for months. What do we do? I asked. She gripped my hand. You have to stay away from him. Whatever he is, he's not safe. Mom, you're scaring me. Good. Be scared. I should have been scared. I should have seen it sooner. She closed her eyes. He watches me. When I'm sleeping. I've woken up and he's just standing there, in my room, smiling. My skin crawled. Did you tell Dad? He doesn't believe me. He thinks I'm having a breakdown. Maybe I am, but I'm not wrong. They kept her in the hospital for 72 hours. Psychiatric evaluation. Dad hired a nurse to stay with her at home after that. Mom stopped talking about Danny, stopped talking much at all. I stayed home for a week, watched Danny. He seemed concerned about Mom. Asked how she was. Visited her in her room. She wouldn't look at him. One night I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs for water. Danny was in the kitchen, standing in front of the open fridge. The light illuminated his face. He wasn't smiling. "Danny?" I said. He turned. The smile came back instantly. "Hi, Sarah. What are you doing?" "Getting water. You're just standing there." I was thinking. About what? Mom. What about her? She's scared of me. I didn't know what to say. She's not. She is. I can tell. She won't look at me. She leaves rooms when I come in. He closed the fridge. The kitchen went dark except for the moonlight through the window. Why is she scared of me? She's not scared, she's been stressed. Because of me. No. Yes. He took a step closer. I fought the urge to step back. I make her uncomfortable. I make you uncomfortable. I make everyone uncomfortable. That's not true. It is. I can see it. The way you look at me. Like you're trying to figure out what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. Something is. I know it is. I'm not the same. I can feel it. He touched his face. I can feel the smile. I can't stop it. I've tried, but it's always there. Danny. I don't remember what happened. Not really. I remember walking. I remember trees, and then nothing, just empty space. Like I was asleep but awake. And when I came back, I was different. He looked at his hands. I don't feel right in my body. Like it doesn't fit anymore. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. He looked at me. The smile was there, but his eyes were wrong. Desperate. I'm trying to be normal. I'm trying to be Danny, but I don't think I am anymore. You are Danny. Am I? He stepped closer. How do you know? Because you're standing here. Because you remember things. Because you're my brother. But what if I'm not? What if something happened in those woods and I'm not Danny anymore? What if I'm something else wearing his face? I couldn't breathe. Stop it. I dream about it sometimes. The forest. I dream that I'm still there. That I never left. That this, he gestured around, isn't real. That I'm still in the trees, walking. And I'll never stop walking. Danny, you're scaring me. The smile widened. I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. He turned and walked toward the stairs. Good night, Sarah. I stood in the dark kitchen for a long time after he left. The next morning, I told Dad I was going back to school. He didn't argue. I think he was relieved. I tried to move on, tried to forget. But I couldn't. In March, one of Danny's friends died, a kid named Tyler. He walked into traffic, just stepped off the curb in front of a bus. The news said it looked intentional, said he'd been smiling when he did it. Danny didn't go to the funeral, said he didn't see the point. That Tyler was gone, and funerals were for the living. In April, 2 more of Danny's friends disappeared, went hiking, never came back. Search and rescue looked for weeks. Found nothing. I called home, asked if Danny was okay. Dad said he was fine, said he wasn't even that upset, said he seemed normal. In May, Mom left. Just got in her car one day and drove. Called Dad from a motel 3 states away. Said she couldn't come back, that she was sorry, that she loved us, but she couldn't be in that house anymore. Dad begged her to come home. She said no. Said she'd get help. Said she'd be in touch. She wasn't. Dad fell apart, started drinking, stopped going to work, lost his job, sat in his chair and stared at nothing. Danny took care of things, cooked dinner, did laundry, paid bills with Dad's credit card, kept the house running, like it was easy, like he'd always known how. I came home in June, finished my junior year, didn't go back for senior year. Couldn't leave Dad alone with Danny. The house felt wrong, too quiet, Too clean. Danny had rearranged things, hung different pictures, bought new furniture. Dad didn't notice or didn't care. "Why'd you change everything?" I asked Danny. "It needed updating," he said. Smiled. "Dad didn't ask you to. He doesn't mind." "How do you know?" "I know." He was different again. Taller, older. He looked 18 now, maybe 19. His voice was deeper. His movements were smooth, efficient. He didn't bother pretending as much. Didn't fake interest in TV shows or music. Just existed. Smiled. His friends came over, the ones who were left. They all looked like him. Too healthy, too calm. Smiling. "What are you?" I asked him one night. We were alone in the kitchen. Dad was asleep upstairs. Danny looked at me. "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean." "What are you?" "I'm Danny." "No, you're not." He tilted his head. "Does it matter?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you're in my house, pretending to be my brother, and I want to know what you are." He was quiet for a long time. The smile never left. "I don't know what I am." "Bullshit." "I don't. I remember being Danny. I remember his life, his memories, but I also remember other things. The forest, the walking, the empty space. And when I came back, I was this." He gestured to himself. "Maybe I'm still Danny. Maybe I'm something else. I don't know." "Do you want to be Danny?" "I don't know." "Does Danny want to be Danny? Did he ever?" "Maybe this is better." "Better how?" "I don't hurt. I don't feel sad. I don't feel angry. I just feel calm. Always calm." "Isn't that better than what Danny felt before?" "No, because it's not real." "How do you know what's real?" I didn't have an answer. That summer more people went missing. Hikers, campers, kids from Danny's school. Always in the forest, always the same area, Fish Lake National Forest. The news covered it, called it a mystery, said something was wrong with that part of the forest, said people should avoid it, but more people kept going, like they were drawn there. One night in August, I woke up to Danny standing in my doorway, just standing, smiling. "What do you want?" I asked. "I need to show you something." "What?" "You have to come with me." "Where?" "The forest." My heart stopped. "No. You need to see it, Sarah. You need to understand. I'm not going anywhere with you. You have to. If you don't, you'll never understand. You'll spend your whole life wondering, being scared. This is the only way." "No." He stepped into my room. "I'm not going to hurt you, I promise. I just need you to see." "See what?" "What I saw. What changed me. Then you can decide." "Decide what?" "If you want to come back." I should have screamed, should have woken Dad, should have called the police, but I didn't. Because part of me wanted to know, needed to know. We drove through the night, 12 hours back to Utah. Danny drove. I sat in the passenger seat. We didn't talk. The campground looked the same. Different RVs, different cars, but the same layout, same trees, same stars. Danny parked, got out, started walking toward the trailhead. I followed. The forest was dark, darker than I remembered. Danny walked ahead, not using a flashlight. I used my phone. The light seemed wrong, too dim, too focused. We walked for hours, or maybe minutes. Time felt wrong. And then we were in a clearing, a small open space surrounded by aspens. The moon was bright overhead, too bright. "This is where it happened," Danny said. "Where what happened?" "Where I got lost, where I changed." The clearing looked normal, just trees and dirt and grass. "I don't see anything," I said. "You have to look closer." I looked, and then I saw it. The trees weren't right. The shadows didn't match the moonlight. The air shimmered like heat waves, but it was cold. "What is that?" I whispered. "I don't know. A door maybe, a gap. Something between here and somewhere else. Somewhere else. I don't know what to call it. But that's where I went. That's where I walked for what felt like hours. And when I came back, I was this. The shimmering intensified. I could see shapes moving in it, or maybe I was imagining it. Others have gone in, Danny said. Tyler, those kids from school, they go in and they come back different, or they don't come back at all, but they all smile while they're walking toward it, because it calls you, tells you it's okay, that everything will be okay if you just step inside. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know the truth and because you have a choice. What choice? He looked at me, smiled. You can walk away, go back to the car, drive home. Spend the rest of your life knowing I'm not your brother but never understanding why. Or you can go in, see what I saw, and maybe you'll understand. Maybe you'll come back different too. Maybe you won't come back at all. But at least you'll know. I stared at the shimmering gap in the air. Part of me wanted to run, part of me wanted to step forward. What's in there? I asked. I can't explain it. It's not a place, it's not a thing, it's something else. Something empty and full at the same time. You have to see it to understand. Did it hurt? No, it didn't hurt. Did you want to come back? He thought about it. I don't know. I don't remember wanting anything. I just remember walking. And then I was here again. And I was different. Are you happy? I don't know if this is happy, but it's not sad, it's not anything, just calm. That sounds horrible. He smiled wider. Does it? I looked at the clearing again. The shapes in the shimmer were clearer now. Or maybe my eyes were adjusting. They looked like people, hundreds of them, walking in the same direction, all smiling. How many have gone in? I asked. I don't know. More every day. It's spreading, I think. The gap, getting bigger. More people feel it calling. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's hungry. Maybe it's lonely. Maybe it's just what it does. You sound like you're okay with it. I am. I'm calm, remember? I don't feel scared. I don't feel bad. I just am. That's not normal. I know. He turned to me. So what do you choose, Sarah? Walk away or walk in? I stood there for a long time. The gap shimmered. The shapes walked. Danny smiled. I thought about Mom. About how she couldn't look at Danny anymore. About how she'd tried to kill herself because she couldn't live with the thing wearing her son's face. I thought about Dad. About how he'd given up. About how he just sat in his chair and waited for nothing. I thought about all the people who'd gone missing. All the people who'd come back wrong. And I thought about Danny, my little brother, who'd gone into the forest and never really come back. I can't, I said. Okay, Danny said. I can't do it. I can't go in there. That's okay. But I can't go home either. Why not? Because I know now. I know what you are, or what you're not, and I can't pretend anymore. He nodded. So what will you do? I don't know. We stood in the clearing. The gap shimmered. The shapes walked. Danny smiled. Can I ask you something? I said. Yes. Do you miss being Danny? The real Danny? He thought about it. I don't know. I don't remember what that felt like. I remember his memories, but I don't remember his feelings, so I don't know if I miss it or not. That's sad. Is it? Yeah. Oh. He looked at the gap. Maybe you're right. Maybe this is sad. I just can't tell anymore. I started crying. I didn't mean to, but I couldn't stop, because my brother was gone, really gone, and this thing standing next to me wasn't him. I'm sorry, Danny said, but he was still smiling. I walked back to the car alone. Danny stayed in the clearing. I don't know if he went back in or just stood there. I didn't look back. I drove home, packed my things, told Dad I was leaving. He didn't ask where, just nodded. I don't know where I'm going. Somewhere far from Utah, somewhere far from forests. But I can't stop thinking about the gap, About the shapes walking, about Danny's smile. And sometimes late at night I feel it calling, telling me it's okay, that everything will be okay if I just come back, if I just step inside. The worst part is, I'm starting to believe it. And I'm starting to smile too. Tentar Novamente Story 2. My name is Tyler Brooks. What happened last October at the Shoshone RV Park in Wyoming still doesn't make sense to me. And I've spent every day since trying to find a rational explanation. I won't. This is what I remember. The trip was Marcus's idea. He'd been planning it for months. 4 days in Wyoming, late season camping before the snow came. Marcus, his girlfriend Jen, my coworker Derek, and me. We rented a 30-foot RV because Marcus said hotels were for people who didn't know how to live. I didn't argue. I needed the break from work, and the idea of spending a long weekend away from screens sounded good. We left Denver on a Thursday morning. The drive took 7 hours. Marcus drove the first shift while Jen navigated and Derek complained about everything. The narrow roads, the lack of cell service, the fact that we'd left civilization behind somewhere around the Colorado-Wyoming border. I sat in the back with my laptop, trying to finish a project before we arrived. I remember thinking the landscape looked empty. Not peaceful, empty. The Shoshone RV Park was exactly what you'd expect. A gravel lot with electrical hookups, a concrete bathroom building, and a small office that closed at 6. We arrived at 4:30. The woman at the desk, maybe 60 years old with gray hair pulled back tight, took our information and handed Marcus a map of the area. She pointed out hiking trails, fishing spots, the nearest town. "Stay on marked trails," she said. "Easy to get turned around out here." Marcus thanked her. We parked the RV in spot 14, hooked up the electricity and water and settled in. Derek immediately started drinking. Jen made dinner. Marcus studied the map. I checked my phone. 1 bar of service. Intermittent. Good enough for emergencies. That first night was normal. We ate, drank beer, played cards. Around midnight, we heard coyotes in the distance. Derek made jokes about them eating us. Jen told him to shut up. Marcus talked about the hikes he wanted to do. I went to bed around 1. The next morning, Friday, we decided to hike to Lake Farley, about 6 miles from the RV park. The map showed a clear trail. Marcus printed additional maps from the office. The woman wasn't there, but someone had left copies on the counter. We packed water, sandwiches, first aid kit, standard stuff. The trailhead started behind the RV park. The first 3 miles were easy, mostly flat terrain through pine forest. Derek complained about mosquitoes. There weren't any mosquitoes. It was October, but Derek complained anyway. Around mile 4, Marcus stopped. He was looking at the map, then at his phone GPS, then at the map again. "Something's wrong," he said. "What?" Jen asked. "The trail should fork here. Left goes to Lake Farley, right goes to an overlook, but I don't see any fork." We looked around. The trail continued straight. No fork. "Maybe we passed it," I suggested. We backtracked for 10 minutes. No fork. We returned to where Marcus had stopped. He checked his GPS again. "This says we're in the right spot. The fork should be right here." "Maybe the map's old," Jen said. "Trails change." Marcus didn't look convinced, but we kept going. About half a mile later, we found the fork. Marcus checked his GPS, frowned. "This isn't where it should be," he said. "Does it matter?" Derek asked. We found it. We took the left path toward the lake. The forest got denser. The temperature dropped. My phone showed 2:47 p.m. We walked for another hour. Should have reached the lake by then, according to the map. We didn't. "We should turn back," Jen said. "We've been walking too long." Marcus checked his GPS. He stared at it for a long moment. "Tyler, what time do you have?" I checked my phone. 3:50. That's not right. We've been walking more than an hour since the fork. I looked at my phone again. The time hadn't changed. Still 3:50. I tapped the screen. Nothing. "Phone's frozen," I said. "Mine too," Jen said. Derek checked his phone. Mine's working fine. 4:15. Marcus looked at his watch. I have 4:12. My phone suddenly updated. 4:13. I felt stupid. Obviously it had just lagged. Service was spotty. But something about it bothered me. We continued for another 15 minutes, then came to a clearing. In the center stood a building, a small ranger station, single story, maybe 30 feet wide. Green paint peeling, windows dark. A sign next to the door read, Shoshone Wilderness Station Number 7. That's not on the map, Marcus said. We gathered around the map. He was right. No building marked in this area. Old map, Derek said again. The woman at the office gave us this yesterday. It's dated this year. We approached the building. The door was unlocked. Marcus pushed it open. Inside, a front desk, filing cabinets, a back room visible through an open doorway, a bathroom to the left. Dust everywhere. Papers scattered on the desk. A calendar on the wall showed September 2011, 11 years old. Anyone here? Marcus called out. No response. We stepped inside. The back room contained a cot, a small kitchenette, more filing cabinets. Everything looked abandoned, but not recently. Years ago. Why would they leave this here? Jen asked. Budget cuts, I said. They probably closed it and forgot about it. Derek was looking through papers on the desk. These are all blank, he said. He held up a stack of forms. They looked like permit applications, but the fields were empty. He dropped them. This place is creepy. Let's go. We agreed. As we left, I noticed something on the wall, a map of the area, but different from ours. This one showed trails in red ink that didn't appear on our map. One red trail led from the ranger station directly back to the RV park, much shorter than the route we'd taken. Look at this, I said. Marcus compared it to his map. If this is accurate, we can cut our hike in half. If it's accurate, Jen said. That map looks old. Worth trying, Marcus said. I don't want to hike back the way we came in the dark. It was already after 4:30. We'd lose daylight in a few hours. We decided to follow the red trail. Marcus took a photo of the old map with his phone. The red trail started behind the ranger station. It was narrower than the main trail, overgrown. We walked single file, Marcus first, then Jen, Derek, me. After about a mile, the trail opened up. We could see the RV park in the distance, maybe 2 miles away. See? Marcus said. Shortcut works. We reached the RV at 6:15. My phone had stopped working completely by then. No service, wouldn't turn on. I plugged it in when we got back. It powered up normally. 6:47 p.m. The clock had jumped forward. Your phone's broken, Derek said. Maybe. I didn't mention it again. That night we cooked steaks on the RV's propane grill. A few other RVs were parked in the lot now, but we didn't see their occupants. The park felt empty despite the vehicles. We drank more beer. Derek got drunk and kept talking about the ranger station. Why would they abandon a building like that? He asked. Just leave it there? I already told you. Budget cuts. But someone should be maintaining it, or they should tear it down. Who cares? Jen said. It's just an old building. I care. It's weird. Around 11, Marcus suggested we go back the next day, Saturday, to explore more. Maybe hike to the overlook we'd missed. Derek said no way. Jen said she wanted to rest. I didn't care either way. We agreed to decide in the morning. I went to bed around midnight. The RV had 2 bedrooms. Marcus and Jen took one. Derek took the pull-out couch. I took the other bedroom. I fell asleep quickly. I woke up at 3:06 a.m. I know because I checked my phone. I'd heard something outside, footsteps on gravel moving around the RV. I listened. The footsteps stopped. Then they started again, circling. I got up, looked out the window, saw nothing. The RV park was dark except for a few security lights near the bathroom building. The footsteps stopped. I waited by the window for 5 minutes. Nothing. I went back to bed. At breakfast, Derek mentioned he'd heard something too. Someone walking around at like 3 in the morning. I heard it, I said. Probably someone going to the bathroom, Marcus said. For 20 minutes? Maybe they couldn't sleep. Jen changed the subject. We decided to spend the day at the RV, relax, maybe drive into the nearest town for supplies. No hiking. We all seemed tired of hiking. We drove into Cascade, the closest town, 15 miles south. Population maybe 300. One gas station, one diner, one general store. We ate lunch at the diner. The waitress, a woman in her 40s, asked where we were staying. Shoshone RV Park, Marcus said. She nodded. Nice area. Good fishing. We went hiking yesterday, Marcus continued. Found an old ranger station out there. Station number 7. Her expression changed. Not much, but enough to notice. She looked at him for a moment, then away. Don't know anything about that, she said. It's about 6 miles from the park, near where the trail forks to Lake Farley. Like I said, don't know anything about it. She took our plates and left. Didn't come back. A different waitress brought our check. In the parking lot, Derek said, "That was weird." She probably just doesn't know the area that well, Jen said. She's lived here her whole life. She knows the area. We drove back to the RV park. The woman from the office was outside talking to someone by the bathroom building. We parked. Marcus got out, walked over to her. I followed. "Excuse me," Marcus said. "Quick question about the area." She turned. Up close, I noticed her face looked tired, lines around her eyes like she wasn't sleeping. "Yes? We found a ranger station yesterday, about 6 miles north near Lake Farley Trail, station number 7. Is it still in use?" Her expression didn't change, but she took a step back. "There's no ranger station in that area. We were inside it, green building, single story." "No ranger station, you must be confused." "We took pictures," Marcus said. He pulled out his phone, started scrolling, stopped, looked at his phone, then at me. "They're gone." I checked my phone. I'd taken a picture of the map on the wall. The photo wasn't there. Gallery showed no pictures from yesterday at all. Phones must have deleted them, I said. The woman from the office was already walking away. "No ranger station out there," she said again. "Must have been a different building. Hunting cabin or something." Marcus watched her go. Everyone in this town is fucking weird. We went back to the RV. Derek suggested leaving, going home early. Marcus said no. We'd paid for 4 days. We were staying 4 days. Jen agreed. I didn't have a strong opinion either way. That night, Marcus insisted on going back to the ranger station, just him and me. Jen stayed behind. She said she didn't feel well. Derek refused to go. He was drinking again, sitting in a folding chair outside the RV, staring at the darkening sky. We left at 7 p.m. Brought flashlights, though we wouldn't need them for at least an hour. The trail was easier the second time. We found the fork without trouble, took the left path, reached the ranger station at 8:30. The building looked the same. We went inside. Everything exactly as we'd left it. Marcus took out his phone, started recording video. He panned around the room, showed the desk, the papers, the calendar. Then he walked to the back room. I followed. The back room was different, the cot was made now. Blanket pulled tight, pillow fluffed. I pointed it out to Marcus. "It wasn't like that yesterday," I said. He kept recording. "Someone's been here." We checked the bathroom. Sink was wet. Water dripped from the faucet. I turned the faucet. It worked. Water came out brown at first, then clear. "Running water," Marcus said. "So this place isn't completely abandoned." We went back to the front room. Marcus was heading toward the door when I saw it. The map on the wall had changed. New red trails had been drawn on it, trails that weren't there yesterday. One trail led deep into the forest, ending at a point marked with an X. "Marcus." He came back, looked at the map, took out his phone, compared it to the photo he'd taken yesterday. The photo showed the old trails. The map on the wall showed new ones. "Someone's fucking with us," he said. "Why would anyone do that?" "I don't know, but we're leaving." We walked back to the RV park. Got there at 10:15. Jen was asleep. Derek was still outside in the folding chair, beer in hand, 6 empties at his feet. "How was your adventure?" he slurred. "Fine. Go to bed." "Can't. Every time I close my eyes, I hear them." "Hear what?" "The voices." Marcus and I looked at each other. Derek was drunk, very drunk. "You're hearing things because you're wasted," Marcus said. "Sleep it off." Derek shook his head. "No, they're out there. Listen." We listened. I didn't hear anything except wind and the hum of generators from the other RVs. "There's nothing," I said. "You're not listening right." Marcus helped Derek inside. Derek passed out on the pull-out couch immediately. Marcus and I stayed up for a while talking about the ranger station. He wanted to go back tomorrow, Sunday early, follow one of the new red trails on the map, see where it led. I told him that was a bad idea. "Something's not right about that place," and I said. "It's just an old building. Someone's probably squatting there, redrawing the maps to mess with hikers." "Then why didn't we see anyone?" "They saw us coming and hid." "And the waitress? The woman at the office? Why did they act so strange when we mentioned it?" Marcus didn't have an answer. We went to bed. I woke up at 3:06 a.m. again. This time the footsteps were louder, right outside my window. I got up, looked out. Someone was standing 20 feet away, facing the RV. I couldn't see details, it was too dark, but I could see the silhouette, tall, very thin, standing perfectly still. I watched for maybe a minute. The figure didn't move. Then it turned and walked away, disappearing into the darkness toward the trailhead. I woke up Marcus, told him what I'd seen. He got dressed, grabbed a flashlight. We went outside. No one there. We walked toward the trailhead. I saw footprints in the gravel. Boot prints, large, deep. We followed them for about 50 yards. They stopped at the edge of the forest. "Whoever it was went into the woods," Marcus said, at 3 in the morning. "Some people hike at night. No one hikes at night." We went back to the RV, couldn't sleep after that. At 6 a.m., Derek came into the living area. He looked terrible, eyes bloodshot, face pale. "I need to go home," he said. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked. "I had a dream. Someone was standing over me, watching me sleep. When I woke up, they were still there. Then they walked out the door. You were drunk. You imagined it. I wasn't asleep yet. I saw them." Jen came out of the bedroom. "What's going on?" Marcus explained. Jen sat down on the couch, rubbed her face. "This is getting ridiculous. Maybe we should just leave. We have one more day, let's just stick it out." "I'm not staying," Derek said. "I'll hitchhike if I have to." Marcus got angry. He accused Derek of ruining the trip, of being paranoid, of drinking too much. Derek accused Marcus of ignoring obvious problems. They argued for 10 minutes. Finally, Marcus said fine, we'd leave in the morning. Monday. One more night. Derek reluctantly agreed. That day, Sunday, we stayed at the RV park, didn't hike. Jen read a book. Derek slept. Marcus worked on his laptop. I tried to enjoy the last day, but I couldn't stop thinking about the figure outside my window. Around 4 p.m., Derek went for a walk. Said he needed to clear his head. He took a path toward the bathroom building. I watched him from the RV window. He walked past the bathroom building, kept going toward the trailhead. I thought about following him. Decided against it. He'd be back. 5 p.m. Derek wasn't back. 6 p.m. Still not back. Marcus went looking for him. I went with him. We checked the bathroom building, the office, closed, the trails near the entrance. No Derek. We called his phone, voicemail. We walked into the forest, calling his name. No response. At 7 p.m., we told Jen we couldn't find him. She wanted to call the police. Marcus said give it another hour. Derek probably just needed space, would show up soon. 8 p.m. Dark now. Derek's still gone. We called the police. A ranger, not from the local station, from the main office 30 miles away, arrived at 9 p.m. His name was Harding, middle-aged, serious. He took our information, Derek's description, asked when we'd last seen him, where he might have gone. We told him about the trail, about Derek being upset. People get lost out here, Harding said. Usually they show up by morning. We'll do a search at first light if he's not back. He left. The three of us sat in the RV waiting. Midnight came. No Derek. We tried calling him every 15 minutes, voicemail. At 1 a.m., Jen fell asleep. Marcus and I stayed awake, sitting at the small table, not talking. At 3:06 a.m., I heard footsteps again. This time Marcus heard them too. We looked at each other. The footsteps came closer, stopped right outside the door. A knock. 3 slow knocks. Marcus stood up, opened the door. Derek was standing there. He looked normal. Same clothes, same face. He smiled. "Hey," he said. "Sorry, lost track of time." "Where the hell were you?" Marcus demanded. "We called the police. I went for a walk, got turned around, found my way back." "For 11 hours?" Derek shrugged. "Time flies." He stepped inside. Something was wrong. I couldn't place it immediately. He looked like Derek, sounded like Derek, but something was off. He sat down at the table across from me. That's when I noticed he wasn't blinking. Not at all. His eyes were open, fixed on me. Not staring. Exactly, just open. "Derek," I said. "You okay?" "Fine. Why?" "You're not blinking." He blinked. "I'm blinking now." "You weren't." "Must have been tired. I'm tired now. Going to sleep." He got up, went to the pull-out couch, lay down fully clothed. Within seconds he was asleep, or appeared to be asleep. I watched him for a minute. His chest wasn't moving. He wasn't breathing. I grabbed Marcus, pulled him into his bedroom. Jen was awake now, sitting up in bed. "What's going on?" she whispered. "Derek's not breathing," I said. "What?" We went back to the living area. Derek was still lying on the couch, eyes closed. Marcus leaned down, put his ear near Derek's face, pulled back quickly. "He's breathing," Marcus said. "Barely. But he's breathing. I didn't see his chest moving." "He's breathing, you're paranoid." Maybe I was. I went back to my bedroom, tried to sleep, couldn't. Around 5 a.m. I heard Derek get up, heard him open the RV door, go outside. I looked out the window. He was walking toward the trailhead again, same direction as yesterday. I watched until he disappeared into the darkness. At 6 a.m., I woke up Marcus. "Derek's gone again." "What?" "He left an hour ago. Walked into the forest." Marcus got dressed. We went outside. Followed Derek's footprints, same boot prints I'd seen before, deep impressions in the gravel. They led into the forest, toward the ranger station. We followed them for half a mile. They stopped at a clearing. No more footprints. Just stopped. "This doesn't make sense," Marcus said. We searched the area. No sign of Derek. No explanation for where the footprints ended. Marcus called his phone. Voicemail. We went back to the RV. Jen was awake, making coffee. "Where's Derek?" she asked. We told her. She started crying. Not hysterically, just quiet tears running down her face. She said we needed to leave. Now, not wait for Derek. Just leave. Marcus agreed. We packed up the RV, disconnected the utilities, got ready to go. As Marcus started the engine, I saw someone standing at the edge of the forest. Tall, thin. Same silhouette I'd seen outside my window. They raised a hand, waved. Slow, deliberate, then turned and walked back into the trees. "Someone's there," I said. Marcus looked. "Where?" "They were right there. They just went into the forest." "I don't see anyone." "They were there." Jen was looking at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. We drove out of the RV park, headed toward the highway. My phone had service again. I called the ranger station, reported Derek missing. Harding said they'd start a search immediately. We drove for 2 hours in silence. Somewhere near the Colorado border, Marcus pulled over at a rest stop. We got out, stood in the parking lot. Other travelers walked past us, normal people doing normal things. "What the fuck happened back there?" Marcus said. Neither Jen nor I had an answer. 3 days later, the Rangers found Derek. He was sitting on the steps of the ranger station wearing the same clothes, alive and conscious. They asked him where he'd been. He said he'd been there the whole time, waiting for someone to come back. He couldn't explain why he'd stayed there for 3 days. He said time felt different, said he'd only been there for a few hours. The Rangers brought him to a hospital. Physically, he was fine, dehydrated, but otherwise healthy. Mentally, they weren't sure. He kept talking about voices in the forest, about someone who looked like him but wasn't him. They kept him for psychiatric observation. I visited him 2 weeks later. He was being released. He looked like Derek again, blinking normally, breathing normally. But he didn't remember anything after walking into the forest that Sunday afternoon. The last thing he remembered was the argument with Marcus that morning. Everything after was blank. Something happened to me out there, he said. I don't know what, but I'm not the same. He wouldn't elaborate, wouldn't talk about it again. I tried to find information about the ranger station, called the Forest Service, asked about station number 7 in the Shoshone area. They said no such station existed. Never had. I showed them the photos Marcus had taken, the video from our second visit. The ranger I spoke to watched it, looked confused. This building doesn't exist, he said. I've worked this area for 15 years. There's no structure like this anywhere near Lake Farley. We were inside it, multiple times. Then it's not in the Shoshone National Forest, must be somewhere else. But I knew it wasn't somewhere else. I knew exactly where it was. A month later, I drove back to Wyoming alone. I needed to see it again to prove to myself it was real. I parked at the Shoshone RV park. Different woman at the office, younger, didn't recognize me. I hiked the trail to Lake Farley, found the fork, took the left path. The ranger station wasn't there. I searched for 2 hours. The clearing where it had stood was just forest, no building, no sign that anything had ever been there. I found the spot by GPS coordinates I'd saved on my phone. The coordinates put me in the exact location, but there was nothing. I went back to the RV park. The young woman at the office was closing up. I asked her about Station Nor 7. She looked at me like I was crazy. No ranger station in this area, she said. Never has been. What about the woman who was working here in October? Gray hair, older? I'm the only one who works here, have been for 2 years. I drove home, didn't stop, didn't sleep. Got back to Denver at 4 a.m. I haven't been back to Wyoming since. Derek quit his job 3 weeks after being released from the hospital. Said he needed to get away from everything, start over somewhere new. Last I heard, he was living in Oregon. We don't talk. I tried calling him a few times, but he never answered. Eventually, I stopped trying. Marcus and Jen broke up 6 months later. She said she couldn't be with someone who refused to acknowledge that something impossible had happened. Marcus insisted there was a rational explanation for everything. They couldn't reconcile that difference. I don't talk to Marcus anymore either. He moved to California, started a new job, acts like the trip never happened. But I can't forget. I dream about the ranger station sometimes. In the dreams, I'm walking through the forest, following those red trails on the wall map. They lead deeper and deeper into the woods. Eventually, I reach the X marked on the map. There's a door there, built into the ground. It's open. I can hear voices coming from inside, familiar voices. Derek's voice, Marcus's voice, my own voice. The door is always open in the dreams. I've tried researching the area, historical records, old maps, newspaper archives. I found one reference in a 1957 Forest Service document mentioning a temporary ranger station built near Lake Farley. It was supposed to be demolished in 1959. No follow-up records exist, nothing after 1957. I also found something else, a missing persons report from 1989. A couple hiking near Lake Farley disappeared. They were found 3 weeks later, sitting on the steps of what they called an old ranger station. They couldn't explain where they'd been. Both insisted they'd only been there for a few hours. Both died within a year. One from a heart attack, one from a car accident. The report mentioned they'd both experienced severe psychological trauma. Both reported hearing voices in the forest. Both said they'd seen something that looked like them, but wasn't them. I don't know what we found in those woods. I don't know what happened to Derek. I don't know why the ranger station disappeared. I've considered every possible explanation, hallucination, elaborate hoax, psychological break. None of them fit. What I do know is that every night, at 3:06 a.m. I wake up. I don't know why. I don't hear footsteps anymore. I don't see figures outside my window. But I wake up at that exact time every single night. And for a moment, just a moment, I hear them, the voices from the forest, whispering, calling, telling me to come back. Sometimes I check my phone. Sometimes there are photos in my gallery that I don't remember taking. Pictures of trails, pictures of red lines on maps, pictures of a green building with a sign that reads, Shoshone Wilderness Station Number 7. I delete them. They come back. Last week I found something in my pocket. I don't know how it got there. A piece of paper, old and yellowed. A form from the ranger station, a permit application. Most of the fields are blank, but at the top, in handwriting that looks like mine but isn't quite right, is a name, Tyler Brooks. And below that, a date, October 14th, 2023. That was the date we found the ranger station. I burned the paper. I don't know if it helped. I still have dreams about the door in the ground. About the voices. About walking down into darkness following something that looks like me. In the dreams, I always know I shouldn't go. I always go anyway. And every morning I wake up at 3:06 a.m. in my apartment in Denver, safe. Normal. Alive. But sometimes, just sometimes, I look in the mirror and I don't blink when I should. I catch myself holding my breath, not needing to breathe. I hear my voice saying things I don't remember saying. And I wonder, did I really come back from those woods? Or is something else living in my skin, wearing my face, typing these words? I don't know. I'll probably never know. But if you ever find a ranger station that isn't on any map, if you ever see trails marked in red that lead to nowhere, if you ever hear voices in the forest calling your name, don't go inside. Don't follow the trails. Don't answer the voices. Because whatever's in those woods, whatever lives in that building that shouldn't exist, it's waiting. It's patient. And once it knows you're there, once it sees you, once it takes something from you, a piece of your time, a piece of your mind, a piece of yourself, you'll never be quite the same again. I'm not. And neither is Derek. And neither are you. If you're reading this and you've been there too. If you've seen the ranger station. If you've heard the voices. We're all changed now. All of us who found that place. And sometimes late at night I wonder if that's what it wants. To change us, to make us like it, to turn us into something that exists between the maps, between the moments, between what's real and what shouldn't be. I wonder if that's what I'm becoming. I wonder if I'm already there. Story 3. My name is Emily Carter. My boyfriend and I went hiking in Utah, but every turn brought us back to the same clearing. The forest didn't want us to leave. That's how I would have written it if this were a Reddit post or something designed to get clicks. But that's not really how it happened, or at least that's not all of it. The truth is messier and takes longer to explain, and I'm still not sure I understand what happened to us in Fish Lake National Forest. Marcus and I had been together for 3 years when we decided to take the trip. We'd been talking about doing something different for our vacation, not another resort or city break, but something that would get us out of our routines. I work as a graphic designer from home. And Marcus is a software engineer who spends most of his time in video calls or staring at code. We wanted trees and quiet, and the kind of tired you get from walking all day. Marcus found the RV rental online. Neither of us had ever driven one before, but he was confident about it the way he's confident about most things. It's just a bigger vehicle, he said. The GPS will handle the navigation. He'd mapped out a route through southern Utah, ending at Fish Lake National Forest because he'd read about the Pando aspen grove, supposedly the largest living organism on Earth, all connected by one root system. Imagine walking through something that's been alive for thousands of years, he said. And I had to admit it sounded worth seeing. We picked up the RV on a Thursday morning in late September. The woman at the rental place went through the basics. how to empty the tanks, how to level the vehicle, how to hook up to power and water at campsites. I took notes on my phone while Marcus nodded along, barely listening. He was already thinking about the drive. The first 3 days went fine. We stopped at a few campgrounds along the way, nothing fancy, just places to park overnight while we made our way north. Marcus handled the driving, and I navigated using the GPS on his phone since the RV didn't have one built in. We didn't talk much during the drives. Marcus liked to focus on the road, and I was content to watch the landscape change from red rock to pine forest. We arrived at the Fish Lake campground on Sunday afternoon. It was less crowded than I'd expected. Just a handful of other RVs scattered across the sites, most of them looking fairly permanent, like their owners had been there for weeks. The camp host, an older man with sun-damaged skin and a baseball cap, directed us to a spot near the back, away from the main facilities. "You folks planning to stay long?" he asked while Marcus was backing the RV into place. "Just 5 or 6 days," I told him. He nodded slowly. "Well, you picked a good time. It's quiet now. Most people clear out after Labor Day." "That's what we're hoping for," I said. He looked at me for a moment, then seemed about to say something else. But Marcus called out from the driver's seat asking me to check the clearance on the left side, and the camp host just waved and walked back to his trailer. We spent the rest of that afternoon getting set up. Marcus handled the water and power hookups while I organized the inside of the RV, which wasn't much, just making sure our food was properly stored and our clothes weren't going to slide around while we drove. By the time we were done, the sun was low, and the aspen trees around us had turned a deep gold in the light. "Tomorrow we should do the Pando Trail," Marcus said over dinner. We'd made pasta on the RV's small stove, and we were eating at the cramped table. It's supposed to be an easy loop, about 3 miles. Good way to start. "Sounds perfect," I said. That night I had trouble sleeping. The RV was comfortable enough, but every sound seemed amplified. The wind moving through the aspens, something small scratching at the underside of the vehicle, the distant sound of someone's generator running. Marcus slept fine, sprawled across most of the bed. I finally dozed off sometime after 2. We started the hike around 10 the next morning. The trailhead was about a mile from the campground, and we drove there in Marcus's car, leaving the RV behind. He'd loaded the trail map onto his phone the night before, and we had the GPS running to track our progress. The trail really was easy, at least at first. It wound through the aspen grove, and the trees were incredible. All of them genetically identical, Marcus explained, technically the same organism. The leaves rustled in the breeze with a sound like water, and the white bark seemed to glow in the morning light. We walked for about an hour, taking photos, not talking much. The trail was well marked with small wooden posts every 100 yards or so. Then Marcus stopped and pulled out his phone. "That's weird," he said. "What?" "The GPS shows us back at the trailhead." I looked at his screen. The blue dot representing our position was sitting right on top of the parking area symbol. "It must have lost signal," I said. "No, look, it shows full signal." He closed the app and reopened it. The dot stayed at the trailhead. "Must be a glitch." We kept walking. About 20 minutes later, we came around a bend and saw the parking area ahead. Marcus's car was sitting exactly where we'd left it. "Did we make a wrong turn?" I asked. Marcus checked the map again, frowning. "We followed the trail the whole way. There weren't any turns to make. It's a loop." "Maybe it's a shorter loop than 3 miles, I suggested. "Maybe." He didn't sound convinced. We decided to try again, this time paying closer attention to the trail markers. We walked for what felt like longer than before, I'd guess an hour and a half, and the trail did seem to go in a different direction at certain points, but when we came around another bend, there was the parking area again. Marcus stopped walking. "Okay, that's not right. Did we somehow double back without noticing?" "I don't see how. We were watching the trail the whole time." He pulled out his phone again, but now the GPS app had frozen. He restarted it, and it showed us at the trailhead again. "Let's just go back to the campground," I said. "Maybe the trail is just poorly marked or something." Marcus wanted to try one more time, but I was starting to feel uneasy in a way I couldn't quite explain. Not scared exactly, but off balance. Like when you're walking downstairs in the dark and you think there's one more step than there actually is. We drove back to the RV and spent the rest of the afternoon there. Marcus was frustrated, convinced that the trail map he'd downloaded was wrong, or that the GPS had some kind of bug. He spent an hour comparing different maps on his laptop, trying to figure out what we'd done wrong. I sat outside and read, trying not to think about the hike. But I kept coming back to the feeling I'd had right before we saw the parking area the second time, a sense of inevitability, like I'd known we would end up back there even though that shouldn't have been possible. That night, Marcus suggested we try a different trail the next day, one farther from the campground. The Fremont River Trail, he said, showing me the map. It's an out and back, not a loop. Should be harder to get turned around. Sure, I said. I slept better that night, though I woke up once around 3 and thought I heard voices outside the RV. When I looked through the window, I didn't see anyone. Just the dark shapes of the other RVs and the trees beyond them. The Fremont River Trail was about a 30-minute drive from the campground, down a series of increasingly narrow forest roads. Marcus's GPS directed us without any problems, and we found the trailhead easily enough. There were no other cars in the small dirt parking area. The trail followed the river for the first mile, then climbed up away from it into denser forest. It was marked well, with those same wooden posts we'd seen before. We hiked for 2 hours, taking a break at a spot where the trail opened up to a view of the valley below. "This is more like it," Marcus said. He was in a better mood than he'd been the day before, pleased that we were successfully following a trail without any weird loops. "We'll head back in another hour or so, make it a good 5-mile hike total." We ate the sandwiches we'd packed and then started back down. The trail was easy to follow going down, maybe even easier than going up because we could see farther ahead. We passed the spot where we'd taken our break, then the place where the trail split off from the river, and then we were back at the parking area. Except Marcus's car wasn't there. We stood at the edge of the dirt lot, both of us silent for a moment. Then Marcus said, "Did we come out at a different trailhead?" "I don't think so. Look, there's the sign." I pointed at the wooden trail marker that we'd taken a photo next to that morning. "Then where the hell is the car?" We walked around the parking area. There were tire tracks in the dirt, but it was impossible to tell if they were from that morning or from days before. No car, no other people, nothing but trees and the sound of the river somewhere below us. Marcus pulled out his phone. No signal, which wasn't surprising this far from the main road. He tried pulling up the offline maps he'd downloaded, but the app kept crashing. "Okay, let's think about this," he said, forcing himself to stay calm. "Maybe we did come out at a different trailhead. Maybe there's another parking area nearby and we're just confused about which one we started from." "The car was right there," I said, pointing. "I remember because you had to back up twice to straighten it out." "Cars don't just disappear, Em. I know that." We walked back to the trail marker and started following the road away from the parking area. It wound through the forest for about a 1/4 mile before intersecting with another larger road. We followed that one for another 10 minutes, not talking, just walking. Then Marcus stopped. "This is the road we drove in on," he said. "I recognize that tree." He pointed to a large pine with an odd twisted branch. "So we're going the right direction?" "I think so. The campground should be about 20 minutes that way." He pointed down the road. We walked for an hour. The sun was getting low, and I was starting to wonder if we should have stayed at the parking area and waited for someone else to show up. But Marcus kept insisting we were going the right way, that he recognized landmarks. Then we rounded a bend and saw the trailhead parking area ahead of us. Empty. Marcus stopped walking. I could see his jaw working, trying to process what we were seeing. "That's not possible," he said quietly. "Maybe we got turned around." We walked in a straight line. Obviously we didn't, or we wouldn't be back here. "Em, I'm telling you, we walked in a straight line down this road. We didn't turn anywhere." I didn't know what to say to that. We stood there for maybe 5 minutes, neither of us moving. The light was fading fast now, and I realized that if we didn't figure this out soon, we'd be stuck out here in the dark. The campground is only a 30-minute drive, I said finally. Even if we walk, we should be able to make it before full dark if we start now. Marcus looked at his phone again. Still no signal. But you're right. We need to move. We started walking again, this time in what we were both fairly certain was the opposite direction from the one we'd gone before. The road curved through the trees, and I tried to pay attention to landmarks, anything that would tell us we were making progress. But everything looked the same: pine trees, aspens, the occasional boulder. After about 20 minutes, Marcus stopped. Do you recognize that? He was pointing at a tree with a twisted branch. No, I said. Though even as I said it, I knew I was lying. That's the same tree, Em. I'm sure of it. It's a forest. There are a lot of trees. With that exact same branch, look at it. I didn't want to look at it, but I did. It was the same tree. I was sure of it now, too. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Okay, so we got turned around somehow. Let's try again, but this time we'll mark the road, leave some kind of trail. Marcus pulled a bandana from his pocket and tied it to a branch near the road. There, now we'll know if we come back to this spot. We walked for another 20 minutes, choosing our direction at random this time, figuring that even if we were going the wrong way, at least we'd be going somewhere different. The light was almost gone now, and I was starting to think about what would happen when it got fully dark. We had no flashlights, no supplies, and the temperature was dropping fast. Then I saw it ahead of us, the twisted tree with Marcus's bandana hanging from the branch. Marcus made a sound that wasn't quite a word. He walked up to the tree and yanked the bandana down, then stood there holding it, his breathing fast and shallow. How is this happening? He said, not really asking me. I don't know. This isn't... He stopped, seemed to force himself to calm down. Okay, new plan. We go back to the parking area and we stay there. Someone will come eventually. The camp host will notice we're gone. They'll send someone to look for us. We walked back, or what we thought was back, to the parking area. It took 15 minutes, which meant we couldn't have been that far away, though I would have sworn we'd walked for much longer. The parking area was still empty. We should build a fire, I said. It's going to get cold. Marcus gathered wood while I cleared a spot in the dirt. Neither of us had matches, but Marcus had a lighter in his pocket that he used for the camping stove. We got a small fire going as the last of the daylight faded. We sat next to the fire, not talking. I kept thinking about the loop we'd hiked yesterday, how we'd ended up at the trailhead twice, and about the walk today where we kept circling back to the same point no matter which direction we went. It felt purposeful in a way I didn't want to examine too closely. Do you think we're being messed with? Marcus said finally. Like, is this some kind of prank? By who? I don't know. The camp host? Some locals who like to screw with tourists? How would they move your car? I don't know, Em. I'm just trying to make sense of this. The fire crackled. Above us, the stars were coming out, more than I'd ever seen in my life. I tried to find constellations I recognized, but everything looked strange, like the stars were in slightly wrong positions. What time is it? I asked. Marcus checked his phone. 10:40. That can't be right. The sun went down around 6:30. Phone says 10:40. He showed me the screen. See? I looked at my own phone, which I'd forgotten I had with me. It said 10:42, but that would mean we'd been sitting by this fire for over 4 hours, and I knew that wasn't right. We'd been here for maybe 30 minutes, an hour at most. The phones are wrong, I said. Both of them? They have to be. Marcus stood up and walked to the edge of the firelight. I'm going to try walking down the road one more time, just for a few minutes, see if anything's changed. Don't, I said. It's dark. You could get lost. I'll stay on the road. I'll be able to see the fire the whole time. He walked off before I could argue further. I watched his silhouette disappear into the darkness, then reappear as he passed behind trees. He was right that the fire was visible. I could track his progress by watching when he blocked the light. I fed more wood into the fire and tried not to think about what would happen if we were still here in the morning. Tried not to think about the word that kept appearing in my mind. Trapped. Marcus came back about 15 minutes later. "It's the same," he said. "I walked for maybe 10 minutes and then I saw the fire ahead of me instead of behind me. I came back." We sat in silence. After a while I asked, "Do you think we're losing our minds? Both of us at the same time? I don't know what else would explain this. Maybe we're drugged. Maybe someone put something in our water or our food. Why would anyone do that? I don't know." He threw a stick into the fire harder than necessary. "I don't know anything anymore." We tried to sleep, taking turns so that one of us could keep the fire going. I don't think either of us really slept, though. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like I was spinning, like the ground beneath me was rotating. When I opened them, the stars had moved in ways that didn't make sense. Dawn came suddenly. One moment it was full dark, and the next the sky was gray. We let the fire die down and started walking again, this time not caring which direction we went. We just walked. Within 20 minutes, we were back at the parking area. Marcus's car was there. We both stopped and stared at it. It was parked exactly where Marcus had left it the previous morning, before any of this had started. "That wasn't there before," I said unnecessarily. Marcus walked up to it and tried the door. Unlocked. He got in and turned the key, which was still in the ignition. The engine started immediately. "Get in," he said. I didn't move. "What if—" "Get in the car, Em." I got in. Marcus backed out of the parking area and started driving down the forest road. Neither of us spoke. I watched the trees go past, watched the road curve and straighten, watched for the twisted tree with the oddly angled branch. We never saw it. 15 minutes later, we were at the intersection with the main road. Marcus turned toward the campground. "Look at the GPS," he said. I checked his phone. It was working perfectly, showing us on the main road with the campground about 10 minutes ahead. "What time does it say?" Marcus asked. 9:15. "That's impossible. We watched the sun come up. It should be at least 6 or 7. But when we got back to the campground, the camp host was making his morning rounds, and he waved at us like it was perfectly normal that we were just getting back from an early morning drive. "Find what you were looking for?" he called out. "Yeah," Marcus called back. "Thanks." We went into the RV and I immediately collapsed onto the bed. My legs ached like I'd been walking for days, but when I checked my step counter, it showed fewer than 5,000 steps. Marcus stood at the sink, staring at his reflection in the small mirror. "What happened to us?" he asked quietly. "I don't know." That wasn't normal." "No." He turned to look at me. "Should we leave? Just pack up and go right now?" Part of me wanted to say yes, but another part, a part that had been growing since we'd first gotten turned around on the trail, wanted to understand what was happening, wanted to know if it was real. "Let's stay one more day," I said. "See if anything else happens." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but finally nodded. "One more day, but if anything weird happens again, we're gone." We spent the rest of that day at the campground. Marcus tried to work on his laptop, catching up on emails, but I noticed he kept getting distracted, staring out the window at the trees. I tried to read, but couldn't focus. That evening, the camp host stopped by. "You folks doing all right?" he asked. "Looked like you had a rough morning." "How do you mean?" Marcus asked. "Well, saw you driving back in around 9. Figured you must have gotten an early start to be out that long." Marcus and I looked at each other. "We left around 10 yesterday," Marcus said carefully. "Went for a hike, spent the night at the trailhead because we got lost. Just got back this morning." The camp host's expression didn't change. "That right. Must have had a good time then to stay out all night." "We didn't really have a choice," I said. "We kept getting turned around. The roads all seemed to loop back on themselves." "Ah." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, the forest can be tricky like that. Easy to get confused, especially if you're not from around here." "Have other people reported getting lost?" Marcus asked. now and then. Usually they find their way out after a bit. He glanced toward the trees. Forest is old. Sometimes it doesn't like to let go of folks right away. What does that mean? I asked. Just an expression. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You folks should be more careful, though. Not everyone who gets turned around out there makes it back. He walked away before either of us could respond. Marcus watched him go, then said, "That was creepy as hell." "Yeah. I want to leave, Em. Like right now." "Okay," I said. "Let's pack up." It took us about 2 hours to disconnect everything and stow our gear. By the time we were ready to go, it was almost dark. Marcus wanted to leave anyway, but I convinced him to wait until morning. "We don't know these roads," I said. "We could end up getting lost again if we try to drive out in the dark." He agreed reluctantly. We locked the RV doors and tried to sleep. I kept drifting off and jolting awake, unsure if minutes or hours had passed. At some point deep in the night, I heard footsteps outside the RV, slow, deliberate steps circling the vehicle. I held my breath, listening, but the steps eventually faded away. When I woke up, it was light out. Marcus was already up, sitting at the table with his laptop open. "Morning," I said. He didn't respond. I sat up and saw that he was staring at the screen, his face pale. "What's wrong?" "Come look at this." I got up and looked over his shoulder. He was on Google Maps, looking at the satellite view of Fish Lake National Forest. He'd marked the campground and the 2 trails we'd hiked. "Look at the Fremont River Trail," he said. I looked. The trail we'd hiked, the one where we'd spent the night at the parking area, where we'd walked in circles for hours, didn't exist on the satellite image. The road was there, but there was no parking area, no trail marker, nothing. "Maybe the satellite image is old," I suggested. "It's dated from 6 months ago." He zoomed in closer. "Look, you can see other trails in the area. They all show up, but this one doesn't exist." "That doesn't make sense. We were there. We hiked it." "Did we?" I didn't know what to say to that. Marcus closed the laptop and stood up. "We're leaving. Right now." We got in the driver's seat and he started the engine. I sat in the passenger seat watching through the windshield as he navigated through the campground. The camp host was nowhere in sight. We reached the campground exit and turned onto the main road. The GPS showed us on the right route, heading toward the highway that would take us back toward civilization. I started to relax. Then Marcus said, "That's the twisted tree." I looked where he was pointing. On the right side of the road, there was a large pine with a branch bent at an unnatural angle. "It's just a tree," I said. "No, Em, that's the tree. The one from yesterday." "You're seeing things." "Am I?" He pulled the RV to a stop. "Look at it, really look." I looked. It was the same tree, I was sure of it. The same angle to the branch. The same shape. Marcus put the RV back in drive and kept going. We drove for 10 minutes, then 20. The road curved and straightened. And then ahead of us, I saw the twisted tree again. "Marcus," I said quietly. "I see it." He kept driving. 5 minutes later, we passed the tree again. Then again. Then again. Marcus pulled over and shut off the engine. He put his head down on the steering wheel. "We can't leave," he said. "Can we?" "Let's try walking," I suggested. "Maybe it's just something about the vehicles." We got out and started walking down the road. Within 10 minutes, we saw the twisted tree ahead of us. We turned around and walked the other direction. Within 10 minutes, we saw the tree again. "I'm going to cut it down," Marcus said. "What?" "The tree. I'm going to cut down that fucking tree and then we'll see if we keep passing it." "Marcus, that's not going to help." "You have a better idea?" I didn't. We went back to the RV, and Marcus found a small handsaw in the storage compartment. We walked to the tree and he started sawing at the base of the trunk. It took him almost 2 hours, and by the time the tree finally toppled over, he was exhausted and bleeding from scrapes on his hands. "There," he said, breathing hard. "Now let's try again." We walked down the road. 20 minutes later, we passed a large pine tree with a twisted branch. It was standing upright, exactly as it had been before. Marcus made a sound like a wounded animal. He walked up to the tree and put his hand on the trunk. "This isn't real," he said. "None of this is real." "Marcus, no, listen to me. This is not possible. Trees don't grow back in 2 hours. Roads don't loop back on themselves. This is not real." "Then what is it?" He turned to look at me, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not just fear, but a deeper kind of panic, like he was watching his understanding of reality crumble in real time. "I don't know," he said, "but I'm going to find out." He started walking into the forest, off the road. "Marcus, where are you going?" "Somewhere new. The road keeps looping, so I'm going to try cutting through the forest. There has to be a way out." "Don't," I said, and I heard the fear in my own voice. "We should stay together." "Come with me then." I looked at the trees, the endless aspens, their white trunks glowing in the afternoon light, and I felt something I'd been trying to ignore since this whole thing started: claustrophobia. Not the physical kind, not the fear of small spaces, but something bigger. The fear of being trapped by space itself, by distance that refused to behave the way it should. "I can't," I said. "Then stay here. I'll be back in an hour." "Marcus." But he was already walking into the trees. I watched him disappear into the aspen grove, and then I was alone on the road. I waited by the RV. An hour passed, then 2. The sun started to set. Marcus didn't come back. I thought about going after him, but I couldn't make myself step off the road. The trees seemed to press in around me, and I kept thinking about the way space had folded in on itself over the past 2 days, the way distance had become meaningless. When it was fully dark, I went into the RV and locked the doors. I sat at the table with all the lights on, Marcus's laptop open in front of me, trying to find some rational explanation for what was happening. I searched for information about Fish Lake National Forest, about the Pando Aspen Grove, about strange disappearances or time anomalies. I found a few mentions of people getting lost in the forest, but nothing that matched what we'd experienced. Nothing about roads that looped or trails that didn't exist on maps. Around midnight, I heard something outside. Footsteps circling the RV again, slow and deliberate. Then a knock at the door. "Let me in." It was Marcus's voice. I went to the door but didn't open it. "Marcus?" "Yeah, it's me. I found something. I need to show you." "Where have you been?" "In the forest. I told you I'd be back. Now open the door." Something in his voice was wrong. Not obviously wrong. Not like he was possessed or anything you'd see in a movie. Just slightly off, like he was reading from a script he'd almost but not quite memorized. "What did you find?" I asked through the door. "Just open it and I'll show you." "Tell me first." There was a pause, then, "There's a way out. I found it. But we need to go now." "Why now?" Another pause, longer this time. "Because the forest only lets you leave at certain times. We need to go now or we'll miss our chance." I put my hand on the door lock but didn't turn it. "Marcus, look up at me." "What?" "There's a window right above the door. Look up at me." I heard him move, and then I saw his face in the small window. He looked normal, same features, same expression, same Marcus I'd been with for 3 years. Except he didn't blink. Not once, not even when I shined my phone flashlight directly at his face. "Open the door, he said. "You're not Marcus." "Don't be stupid. Of course I'm Marcus. Who else would I be?" "I don't know," but Marcus blinks. The face in the window smiled. It was Marcus's smile, but too wide, held too long. "I'm blinking right now," he said. "No, you're not." The smile faded. "Open the door." "No." "I'm your boyfriend. Open the fucking door." "Where were we planning to go after this trip?" I asked. "What?" "Where were we planning to go after Utah?" "Home. We were going home." "Where do we live?" A pause. "San Francisco." We'd never lived in San Francisco. We'd visited once, 3 years ago, and Marcus had hated it. Wrong, I said. The face in the window didn't move, didn't change expression. It just stared at me, that too wide smile frozen in place. You should let me in, it said finally. Marcus is still out there. If you want to see him again, you should let me in. What are you? I'm your boyfriend. I'm Marcus. Open the door and I'll prove it to you. No. The face stayed in the window for another minute, then disappeared. I heard footsteps moving away from the RV and then silence. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the table with the lights on, watching the windows, waiting for that face to appear again. It didn't. When the sun came up, I unlocked the door and stepped outside. The campground looked exactly as it had when we'd first arrived. The other RVs in their spots, the trees golden in the early light. The camp host was making his rounds. He saw me and walked over. Morning, he said. You folks heading out today? My boyfriend is missing, I told him. He went into the forest yesterday afternoon and didn't come back. The camp host's expression didn't change. Is that right? We need to organize a search, call the rangers or... Forest usually gives them back after a while, he said calmly. Just have to be patient. What the hell does that mean? Means you should wait. He'll come back when he's ready. He's not, I stopped. Something is wrong with this place. Place is what it is, the camp host said. Some folks take to it, some don't. Forrest decides. I want to leave. Doors open. He gestured toward the campground exit. Nobody's keeping you here. I went back into the RV and started the engine. My hands were shaking, but I managed to get the vehicle moving. I drove toward the exit, watching the odometer, counting the distance. A quarter mile to the exit, half a mile. The exit should have been right ahead. Instead, I saw the twisted tree. I stopped the RV and put my head in my hands. The camp host was right. The door wasn't open. The forest wasn't letting me leave. I don't know how long I sat there. Eventually, I turned the RV around and drove back to our spot. I parked and shut off the engine and just sat there trying to think. That evening, Marcus came back. I saw him walking across the campground toward the RV, moving with that same slightly wrong gait I'd noticed the night before. He knocked on the door. It's me. Let me in. Prove it, I said. How? Tell me about the first night we spent together. A pause. Then, we went to that Italian restaurant in Portland. You ordered the seafood pasta and complained that it was too salty. We went back to your place and watched a documentary about penguins. You fell asleep 20 minutes in. It was all correct. Every detail. But Marcus would have remembered that I'd fallen asleep within 20 minutes because he'd teased me about it for weeks afterward. This Marcus just stated it as a fact. What's my middle name? I asked. Catherine. Correct again. I didn't know what to do. This thing knew everything Marcus would have known. It looked like him, sounded like him, had all his memories. I'm cold and I'm tired and I found a way out of here. Please just open the door. I opened it. Marcus, or the thing that looked like Marcus, stepped inside. He smiled at me, and this time the smile looked right. Almost right. He sat down at the table and gestured for me to sit across from him. I'm sorry I worried you, he said. I know I was gone longer than I said I'd be. What happened to you? I walked into the forest. I walked for hours, and I kept finding my way back to the same spot. It was like everything you and I experienced on the trails, but worse. More intense. He paused. And then I found the center. The center of what? The forest. The actual center of it. The heart of the Pando Grove. His eyes were bright, excited. It's incredible. It's this massive network of roots, and they're all connected, and they're aware. The whole organism is conscious. It's been alive for thousands of years, and it's learned how to manipulate space, how to fold distance in on itself. That's not possible. We've seen it happen. We've experienced it. How can you say it's not possible? I didn't have an answer for that. Marcus, this thing that looked like Marcus, reached across the table and took my hand. His skin was cold. It chose us, Em. It wants us to stay. We could live here forever, as part of it. Never aging, never dying. Just existing in this space between spaces. I want to go home, I said quietly. This is home now. No, it's not. He squeezed my hand, and his grip was too tight. You can't leave. You know that by now. The forest won't let you. But that's okay, because I'm here, and we're together, and that's what matters. I pulled my hand away. You're not Marcus. I am. I'm exactly Marcus. Every thought he had, every memory, every fear and hope and dream. I'm all of it. Then where is the real Marcus? He smiled, that too wide smile. He's part of the forest now, part of the root system. He's everywhere and nowhere. And soon you'll join him. I ran. I didn't think about it, didn't plan it. I just threw open the RV door and ran. Behind me, I heard Marcus, the thing wearing Marcus, calling my name, but I didn't stop. I ran across the campground, past the other RVs, past the camp host who watched me go with that same neutral expression. I ran into the forest. The trees closed around me immediately, and I knew I was making a mistake. Knew that running into the forest was exactly what it wanted, but I couldn't stay in that RV with that thing anymore. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. I collapsed against a tree, gasping for air. Around me, the aspens whispered in a wind I couldn't feel. I don't know how long I stayed there. Long enough for the sun to set, long enough for the stars to come out wrong and unfamiliar, long enough for me to hear footsteps approaching through the trees. M? It was Marcus's voice again. The real Marcus's voice without that wrongness underneath it. M. Where are you? I didn't answer. The footsteps came closer. I know you're scared. I know you don't trust me, but I need you to listen. I saw him through the trees, Marcus's silhouette moving between the white trunks. The forest is old, he said. Older than we can understand. And it's lonely. It's been alone for so long, and all it wants is connection. That's why it brings people here. That's why it doesn't let them leave. It wants to make them part of itself. He stopped walking. He was close now, maybe 10 feet away, though I couldn't see him clearly in the darkness. I tried to fight it, he continued. When I first walked into the forest yesterday, I tried to resist. But it's so strong, Em. It gets inside your head, shows you things, makes you understand. And once you understand, you don't want to leave anymore. I want to leave, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Not yet, you don't. But you will. When you see what I've seen, when you feel what I've felt, you'll understand that this is better. This is where we belong. Marcus, I said, if you're really in there, if any part of you is still you, please help me get out of here. There was a long silence. Then, I can't. The forest won't let you leave. Not unless it wants you to. And it doesn't want you to leave, Em. It wants you to stay. It wants both of us to stay forever. I stood up and started running again. Behind me I heard Marcus, or whatever was using his voice, laughing. I ran until I saw lights ahead. The campground. I burst out of the trees and saw the RV, exactly where I'd left it. The camp host was still making his rounds as if no time had passed at all. I got into the RV and locked the door. I pushed the table against it, then piled everything I could find on top of the table. Blankets, food supplies, Marcus's laptop, anything with weight. Then I sat on the bed and waited. Hours passed. Maybe. It was hard to tell anymore. The clock on the RV's dashboard showed 3 or 6, but I didn't trust it. Time didn't work right here. Around what I thought was dawn, though the light outside looked wrong, too gray, too flat, I heard the knock at the door I'd been dreading. Em, it's time. Marcus's voice, but not Marcus. The forest wants you now. You've been here long enough. You've learned enough. It's time to become part of it. I didn't answer. You can come willingly or it can take you, but either way, you're coming, you know that. I looked around the RV, searching for something I could use as a weapon. There was a knife in the kitchen drawer, but I didn't think it would do any good. How do you fight something that can fold space in on itself? I'm coming in now, the voice said. The door handle rattled. I'd locked it, but the lock was cheap, barely more than a latch. The table I'd piled against it wouldn't hold for long. And then, before I could do anything else, before I could even move, I heard another voice outside. Leave her alone. It was Marcus, the real Marcus. I was sure of it this time. You can't be here, the other voice said, the one that had been pretending to be Marcus. I'm still me. Part of me is still me, and I'm telling you to leave her alone. That's not how this works, you know that. I know the forest needs consent. Real consent, not fear or coercion. She has to choose. And she hasn't chosen. There was a long silence. Then the voice outside the door said, Fine. She can choose. But she needs to understand what she's choosing between. The door stopped rattling. I waited, not daring to move. After a few minutes, I heard Marcus's voice again, the real one. I'm going to slide something under the door, don't be scared. A piece of paper appeared under the door. I picked it up. It was a note, written in Marcus's handwriting. You can't leave by driving or walking. The forest controls all the roads and trails. But there's one way out. You have to go deeper into the actual center of the grove, the heart of the root system, and you have to make a deal. Give the forest something it wants in exchange for your freedom. I gave it my consciousness. That's why I'm still partly me, but also partly it. You'll have to give it something too. I don't know what it will ask for. But if you want to leave, that's the only way. I'm sorry. I love you. I stared at the note for a long time. Then I opened the door. Outside, there were two Marcuses. One on the left, one on the right. They looked identical. Which one is real? I asked. They both spoke at the same time. We both are. I walked past them, toward the forest. I didn't look back to see if they were following. I just walked into the trees and kept walking. I walked for hours or maybe minutes. Distance didn't mean anything here anymore. Eventually, I found it. A clearing I was sure hadn't existed before, with an opening in the ground that led down into darkness. The roots of the aspens were visible around the opening, massive and pale and pulsing with something that might have been life. I climbed down. The space below was larger than seemed possible, a cavern of roots that extended in all directions. And in the center, something that I can't adequately describe. It looked like a massive tangle of white roots, but it moved like it was breathing. And I could feel it watching me, thinking about me. You want to leave? Something said, though I didn't hear it with my ears. Yes, I said. Your companion chose to stay, to become part of me. But you don't want that. No. Why not? Because I want to be myself. I want to live my own life. Life is short. I am eternal. I can make you eternal too. I don't want to be eternal. I just want to go home. There was a long pause. Then, I can let you go. But you'll have to give me something in return. What do you want? A promise. That you'll never tell anyone what happened here. That you'll carry the knowledge alone for the rest of your life. That you'll remember me but never share me. That's all? Memory is everything. If you remember, I exist in your mind. That's enough. Okay, I said. I promise. Then go. I felt something change in the air around me, a loosening, like a door unlocking. I climbed out of the cavern and walked back through the forest. This time the trees seemed to pull back, creating a path. I walked until I saw the campground, and then I walked past it onto the main road. I walked for 3 hours. At the end of those 3 hours, I reached a gas station on the highway. The attendant looked at me like I was crazy. I was covered in dirt and scratches, wearing the same clothes I'd been wearing for days, but he let me use the phone. I called the police and reported Marcus missing. They organized a search of Fish Lake National Forest, but they never found him. They never found the campground either, or the RV, or any evidence that we'd been there. I'm home now. It's been 6 months. I kept my promise. I haven't told anyone what really happened. The police think Marcus wandered off and got lost, that he's probably dead from exposure. His family thinks I'm hiding something, Maybe they're right. Sometimes, late at night, I hear his voice in my head, not talking to me exactly, but just there. A presence. Part of him is still Marcus, and part of him is something else now. Something that's been alive for thousands of years and will be alive for thousands more. And sometimes I wake up and find leaves in my bed. Aspen leaves, golden and trembling. They weren't there when I fell asleep. The forest hasn't forgotten me, and I don't think it ever will. My name is Emily Carter. My boyfriend and I went hiking in Utah, but every turn brought us back to the same clearing. I made it out. He didn't. But I'm not sure I really left at all.